I'm gonna be there. Are you gonna say you wanna be there?
20 years ago, I founded an organization called the Youth Leadership Institute. And our goal was to really find ways to bring young people to decision-making tables around issues that have impacted them in their lives. We build communities where young people and adult allies come together, and we create research-based curriculum and training programs that engage young people in social change efforts across our country and beyond. Many health and social problems are related to conditions outside the individual's immediate control. A focus limited to personal behavior change ultimately fails for society because it narrows the range of possible solutions. For example, much of the emphasis in alcohol is on individual children and their parents who need to help them make healthy personal choices and not to provide them with alcohol. But even with the best intention, making the right choices can be difficult, if not impossible. How can children and their parents resist pro-drinking messages, saturated neighborhoods, easy accessibility, and a tolerance and climate of excuse where anything goes as long as alcohol is concerned? Personal choices are always made in the larger context of the environment and the community. Prevention policies must address both ends of the spectrums, individual and environmental. And only by addressing the interacting influences on the lives of individuals and communities can we hope to keep a population healthy over the long term. Ultimately, youth development is more than a strategy for improving the lives of young people. It's also a strategy to change the role that young people play. By helping them become actively engaged in community life, youth development strives to create a society that is more democratic by virtue of being more reflective of youth concerns, perspectives, and involvement. Internationally, youth development as a field has evolved to a broader understanding of the roles that young people can play. Thus, development is not only about their development, but it's also about the development of a community and society. So how do we help raise up our children in the role that they play? We do that through participation in public policy, through partnership, through engaging them, through providing them skills and opportunities to come and to be seen, not just as a token voice in one issue, but a way that they can get involved. One of the things that we've done at YLI is we've helped a lot of municipalities set up youth commissions and youth councils where young people are actually providing direct oversight and input, both oversight to budgets where resources get spent on children, youth, and families, and also direct input to decision and policy makers that have these youth councils that help guide their agendas and can serve as a litmus test and a relevant reality test on something they're thinking about. Why? Because policy takes a long time. We pose that for every dollar you spend on engaging young people at a community level in solving problems around alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs, you will get $3 of return. How does this math work? It's not because I'm a magician. It happens because the problem is authentic, it is innovative, it's socially conscious and relevant, but young people are also building skills that they will transfer on to life and to work. It also happens because with an engaged citizenship and democracy, we tend to reflect better policy in our communities. And finally, we build the trust and accountability in young people that they can definitely show us works. And they step up to give us intelligent and smart reactions. In the United States, minor and possession laws became a nationwide strategy to try to deal with alcohol consumption in public places by young people. Originally, they just became a law enforcement strategy. But as time went on, law enforcement started to seek out the support of young people in their communities through youth health coalitions and policy coalitions to get their advice on how to make minor and possession laws more effective. Rather than having the law enforcement's restrictions on minor and possession where they used to have to pick up a young person, take them into the emergency room and get them a medical clearance, and then call their parents or be able to book them into juvenile hall for the offense. As you can imagine, if you're a law enforcement person or any person who's thinking about this, that's quite cumbersome and quite a lot of steps for someone who's in a public place with a beer. So what young people did was they worked with the policymakers to craft an actual ticketing process where a young person would be given a citation for having alcohol in public. So yes, this is imperfect. You know, we don't want everyone running around writing tickets. But what it did was, in the community, was a couple of things. The first year in San Diego County in the southern part of California, and any of you have been there, you know that it has a lot of beaches. And it also has 12 universities within a 2-mile radius. So there was a lot of beaches and a lot of drinking on the beaches. So they took the minor possession law and they used the ticketing as a pilot. And they actually, in the first summer, this is a little staggering, but they wrote almost 500,000 tickets. Well, at the $500,000 tickets, at $100 a ticket, you can start to do the math. They were actually able to provide the resources to do community education, pay for the extra law enforcement that the ticketing caused, but also to really educate young people around alcohol issues in their community. And this was a suggestion that was given by young people. Another example, and this one I call the low-hanging fruit, is where young people have worked to lower the cup size at a community fair for beer. That when we started out on this campaign, the beer was the beer being sold at a county fair was actually sold in a 32-ounce cup. It's very big. You know, in America we like everything sort of big, right? This sort of supersize me kind of notion. Well, what they did was the first year they worked to lower it from 32 ounces to 24 ounces. And then the second year they worked to lower it from 24 ounces to 16 ounces. And now the cups sold at the beer at the county fair are 12 ounces. What does this do? Well, for one thing, it keeps less people drunk. So it limits the availability by size of cup. And the young people thought, well, this is a really good strategy, right? And the beer costs the same, whether you sell it in a 32-ounce cup or a 12-ounce cup. And actually, the sales of beers didn't increase, but they still made the same profit. So again, the concerns of business, which was if we change the size of the cup, we're going to lose a lot of business because people won't, buy as much, actually turned out not to be true. The other thing that happened was the security at the county fair, and has about 1 million people that come through this county fair. So a fourth of your country comes through this county fair every summer. 1 million people come through this county fair, and they had 50% less calls to the police and the security about alcohol-related problems at the fair. So all of a sudden, the public health and the environment changed by this simple thing of taking Supersize Me and putting it down to something more reasonable. We envision policymakers, and I want to speak to the policymakers in the room for a moment, to create and support policies that reflect young people as a top priority. To further this vision, I offer you some guiding principles to think of. One is that the policy or program promotes and supports young people acquiring positive personal and social skills and abilities. The second, that it encourages and supports and assists communities to create an environment where their norms send the right messages to young people, that their laws and conditions have created them as a priority for their health and safety, and that we think about how do we create the kind of equitable and just society where people get access to having a positive future. The third is that we think about supporting an environment and a series of activities that contribute to the well-being of young people, but help them support a successful transition from childhood to adolescence to adulthood to being young adults. You have the expertise, you have the brilliance, you have the young people. How do you move them forward? First of all, thinking about the fact that these aren't one-size-fits-all solutions. Environmental strategies and tactics from the concept stage through the on-the-ground implication need to be rooted in local conditions. So local alcohol plans actually could be a very brilliant idea in order to do this. Align them with data-driven understanding of the problems at hand. Thinking about environmental law enforcement strategies as primary, but also they can be significantly bolstered by media advocacy, community outreach, education, public awareness campaigns, and young people can be your great and noble servants in this work. The research repeatedly emphasizes the impact of enforcement strategies is much greater when the communities get involved. And finally, we need to build leaderful societies. We need to make sure that young people are seen as leaders, particularly marginalized young people that can shift their paradigm and their perspective and join together with help. I encourage you to set policies from a place of hope, not fear. I encourage you to set policies that focus on capacity building and engagement and environmental strategies instead of individual strategies. I encourage each of you, rather than seeing yourself as an individual leader, to see yourself as a collective leader and come to the table. And finally, I offer you head, heart, and feet. The head, use your knowledge. You have the evidence, make sure you apply it and do it well. You have your heart, the stories of courage and resilience and connection and community. And you have your feet, which allows you to step up and do something differently tomorrow than you did today to try to make this change work. And I really thank you so much for this opportunity. It is my true compassion and belief that it is hope that will change this world, not fear, and that it is engaging people and giving them opportunities to participate in democracy that will make and change and make the world a better place. So thank you very much.